Identity distortions, weird behaviors of people abused by narcissists.
This video explores the distortions in identity, reality perception, and self-concept that linger from narcissists' indoctrinations long after leaving. Surviving narcissism often leaves survivors doubting reality and struggling to reclaim an accurate self-image and perception abilities. To learn more about why survivors end up living in fear long after narcissistic abuse, watch the video.
Living in fear, weird behaviors of people abused by narcissists.
And to understand the relationship struggles faced by survivors, see the video.
Relationship struggles, weird behaviors of people abused by narcissists.
Links to both videos are in the description below. Now, let's explore why survivors end up with identity distortions long after narcissistic abuse.
Impostor syndrome as a behavior of people abused by narcissists.
Survivors often feel like a fraud just waiting to be exposed as inadequate. This stems from the dismissal and denial of their thoughts, feelings, and experiences by narcissists. The narcissist fosters self-doubt and shame in the victim, accusing them of being incompetent posers and discounting their hard-earned victories. These core feelings of phoniness become embedded. Even long after escaping the narcissist, survivors may be plagued by impostor syndrome, attributing successes to luck rather than merit and anxiously fearing being revealed as the frauds the narcissist convinced them they were. Despite excelling in her career, earning awards and praise from colleagues, a woman feels secretly inadequate, like it is only a matter of time before she is revealed as an imposter and fraud. She attributes every success to luck, not merit. Years of being made to feel phony and second-rate by her narcissistic leech of a father cement her imposter syndrome. Though others view him as highly competent, a man cannot internalize his accomplishments. He works ceaselessly, but is never satisfied, haunted by the criticisms of his narcissistic parasite of a mother who told him he was hopelessly inept. She planted imposter syndrome deep within him. To overcome imposter syndrome, survivors need to identify and challenge their core self-limiting beliefs and assumptions. Recording positive affirmations, cultivating mentors who believe in them, and reframing anxiety as excitement can also help conquer fraudulent feelings over time.
Reliving trauma as a behavior of people abused by narcissists.
Triggers can send survivors into post-traumatic emotional flashbacks, causing them to relive the abandoned, powerless feelings ignited in the original narcissistic abuse. The narcissist conditions their victim to associate certain phrases, situations, or dynamics with trauma. These then become ingrained as triggers leading to involuntary fight/flash/freeze responses long after the abuse ends. Flashbacks transport the survivor back into the emotional reality of the past traumas, often disconnecting them from the present moment in order to survive the past one. Their mind believes the danger is recurring. A woman finds herself thrown back into the anguish of childhood whenever her narcissistic banshee of a mother visits. Though now an independent adult, in her mother's presence, old wounds reopen, and she regresses into the walking on eggshells dynamic she thought was behind her. The original trauma holds fierce power over her. Certain phrases still carry the power to immediately transport a man back to the hypervigilance he experienced living with his narcissistic succubus of an ex-girlfriend who unleashed unpredictable rages. Her particular choice of hurtful words triggers those freeze responses years later, despite extensive therapy. To recover, survivors must identify their unique triggers and create a plan for remaining grounded when they arise. Trauma-focused therapy, support groups, and self-soothing tools help diffuse emotional flashbacks and reconnect to the present. Though difficult, flashbacks can lose their power over time.
Risk aversion as a behavior of people abused by narcissists.
The arbitrary enforcement of rules and moving goalposts set by narcissists can make survivors extremely risk-averse, fearful of being penalized for any perceived missteps. The narcissist keeps their victim walking on eggshells, subject to random rages and punishments without knowing what infraction they unknowingly committed. The victim internalizes that any step out of line will be harshly punished. After escaping, survivors may still shrink from risks or try new things as their nerves remain sensitive to anticipated attacks. They second-guess and self-censor, never feeling fully safe. A woman's narcissistic warthog of a father lashed out unpredictably for the smallest infractions. Today she plays it safe in all areas of life, sticking to strict routines, avoiding new experiences. Making what others view as normal risks feels dangerous. She operates out of fear of cruel consequences. A man's narcissistic leech of a boss regularly exploded over arbitrary things. Now, in his own management role, he resists any bold ideas that could attract attention and gets upset when colleagues do not follow protocols exactly. His risk aversion shadows him as protection against imagined attacks. Survivors can build risk tolerance with incremental steps outside their comfort zone and reframing anxiety as excitement. Surrounding themselves with supportive people willing to challenge limiting assumptions also helps counteract unwarranted risk avoidance over time.
Somatic symptoms of people abused by narcissists.
The chronic stress of narcissistic abuse can cause physiological manifestations in survivors, like headaches, back pain, insomnia, stomach issues, and breathing problems. The body holds onto the neural tension created by prolonged hypervigilance, anxiety, and suppression of emotions. This can emerge through psychosomatic symptoms even after the abuse ends, as the nervous system remains in an agitated state. These physical symptoms mirror the unseen inner wounds caused by the emotional turbulence of narcissistic relationships. They give tangible form to the survivor's suffering. Ever since ending an abusive marriage to a narcissistic succubus, a woman has suffered migraines, ulcers, and panic attacks whenever life feels uncertain. Her sympathetic nervous system remains in the heightened state of arousal that defined her marriage. Her body continues expressing what her mind endured. Despite leaving his narcissistic banshee of a girlfriend years ago, a man still battles daily back spasms and grinding teeth at night, often waking with headaches. His sympathetic nervous system never disengaged from the threat response ignited by her ambient abuse. The wounds impact him physically. To heal, survivors must address root emotional wounds through counseling, self-care practices that calm the nervous system like meditation, yoga, massage, and maintaining healthy boundaries around the narcissist. As inner tensions resolve, so will associated physical symptoms.
Hypercritical inner voice as a behavior of people abused by narcissists.
Internalizing the narcissist's harsh criticisms can leave survivors with an inner voice that berates them constantly, even when consciously they know it's untrue. The narcissist's verbal beatings become an embedded self-narrative of unworthiness. Their victims unconsciously absorb the abuser's words as self-talk that continues undermining their self-esteem and confidence, a cruel inner critic. This self-flagellating commentary remains persistent and persuasive even after leaving the narcissist. The survivor still heeds false accusations from within. Whenever she makes a mistake, a woman is tormented by the shaming inner voice of her narcissistic leech of a father who called her useless. She unconsciously absorbed his verbal beatings, which continue silently punishing her today, despite knowing rationally she is competent. His abuse won't leave her head. A man cannot quiet the constant inner criticisms of his capabilities, which echo his narcissistic banshee of a mother's belittling messages. This hypercritical inner voice cripples his confidence and sabotages his relationships, a remnant of her devaluation he cannot silence. Through counseling, survivors can identify and detach from their inner critic, realizing it does not reflect truth. Affirmations of self-worth and surrounding themselves with encouraging people helps drown out and reprogram the narcissist's installed criticisms.
Difficulty trusting perceptions as a behavior of people abused by narcissists.
A survivor's confidence in their own perceptions can be damaged after being told repeatedly by gaslighting narcissists that their version of events was wrong. The narcissist insists the victim is too sensitive, exaggerating, remembering incorrectly, or lying when they attempt to point out disturbing narcissistic behaviors. This instills chronic self-doubt. Afterwards, survivors will struggle to recognize reality and dismiss their own observations, allowing narcissists and others to define the narrative. They've lost faith in their inner wisdom. A woman constantly doubts herself and defers to others' accounts after living with a narcissistic parasite who insisted her perceptions were incorrect during their relationship. She learned to question her own memories and observations. Shaking this self-doubt rooted in gaslighting has become an ongoing struggle. After enduring years of a narcissistic succubus, of a girlfriend rewriting history, a man began relying on her version of events rather than his own recollections. To this day, he struggles to trust his perceptions or assert his side confidently during disagreements. Her gaslighting left him forever uncertain of his own mind. Regaining trust in their inner guidance is a process for survivors. Seeking validation from empathetic friends, asserting boundaries with the narcissist, and learning the skill of reality testing helps restore faith in their point of view. Their inner wisdom emerges once more. While overcoming narcissistic abuse is challenging, with time, courage, and the right support, survivors can regain their autonomy, self-worth, and ability to trust again after cutting ties with these malignant leeches. May every poor soul who endured their confusing manipulation come to understand that the narcissist, not they themselves, was disordered and unwell despite accusations otherwise. The possibilities for healing and leaving their weird conditioning behind are real. Victims can defy their abusers' legacies and get their lives back. I hope you found validation in the shared struggles here and gained insight into healing identity damage after narcissistic abuse. Please comment with your story to help others recover their true selves. If you still grapple with distortions like imposter syndrome or reality testing difficulties, don't hesitate to reach out for support and coaching. I want to keep this conversation going to bring narcissistic abuse out of the shadows. Your financial contributions through donations or patronage allow me to create empowering resources to spread awareness and amplify survivors' voices. Don't forget to subscribe and press thanks if these videos have eased your isolation. Your generosity makes it possible for us to unite and rediscover our authentic identities after narcissistic abuse warped our self-perception for too long. If you feel you urgently need to speak with a counselor to begin recovering your sense of self from narcissistic conditioning, you can message me on WhatsApp and I'll schedule an initial session within 24 hours. I believe in you and this community's resilience. Together we can heal from narcissistic betrayal and reclaim our identities' self-worth.